Antiques Roadshow experts gathered at the grounds of Eltham Palace in South London, with museum curator and military medals specialist Mark Smith on hand to deliver some news to one lucky guest on the BBC programme. The guest explained to Mark he had come across Sir Winston Churchill's belongings whilst working at the dump, having collated the items during their 15 years at the site. Among the belongings were items such as Sir Winston's iconic top hat, cigar and cigar case, as well as a collection of letters from one of the women who worked alongside Sir Winston during his time as Prime Minister. After examining the items, the expert went on to tell the guest his collection was worth £10,000 as he had found the pieces by mistake, rather than going out and finding them, leading the owner to say, "Oh my God, that's crazy." Also this evening, jewellery and metalwork specialist Geoffrey Munn left another guest on the verge of tears after valuing a pair of relics. Recalling the events of how they came to acquire the relics, the guest began, "Well, actually this was around 15 years ago. I was in an antique market in Bruges and there was this guy around 81 years old. These are from his grandmother and then passed on to his mother and then the mother passed away and then he got his from all the junk in the house. I asked him what this is because I am attracted to religious arts and artifacts. He said to me these are relics which are normally some bones of some saints. I said, how much are they? He said, I'll give it to you for €400. I said, well, can I have them for 300 if I buy the two? He said, well okay. Anyway, I took them home and just put them in my window but I truly adore them, the guest concluded, before Geoffrey began his evaluations of the relics. The expert began, so, here are relics, almost certainly the relics of arm bones of two saints and they have little windows in them so that these fragments of the very saints themselves can be seen. Geoffrey continued referring to the object closest to him, and we know this one here is almost certainly dedicated to Saint Valentine, the Roman martyr who's given his status to Saint Valentine's Day. Referring to the relic closer to the guest, Geoffrey added, so this one, although rather obscured with the dust of the relic within, is a caption of Saint Cassius, who's actually a scholar but he wouldn't rescind his Christian faith. So, he was put to death but he was given to his students to be put to death and they stabbed him to death with pens and pencils and he's another Roman saint, so you've got two relics of Roman saints. The big question is, and it's the question which can never be answered is, are these authentic relics or not? The balance of probability is absolutely not. They may not even be human, Geoffrey went on to explain. Continuing the evaluation, the antiques expert said, they can be the bones of anything but the point about relics is that it's not the veracity of them, not the truth of the relic, but it's the faith in the relic where the magic is and the veneration. Concluding his study of the relics, Geoffrey surmised, we now have to imagine these in a private chapel. I'm wondering whether they might even be Spanish and style might be late 17th century or early 18th century, so it's magic stuff. Let's just try to value something invaluable and say £4,500 for the pair, the expert remarked, which left the guest completely floored by the valuation and they tried to keep composed. With their voice breaking following the revelation, and struggling to hold back the tears, the guest said, well, your faith is worth more than that, isn't it? Speaking after the valuation, the guest said, I feel emotional. It's not the money but it's the faith that's in me and the feeling and how I feel by having them. I didn't even know what saints they were until he told me this morning. On last week's show, another guest was left stunned when they had their Edwardian bracelet valued. Antiques Roadshow continues Sunday at 7 p.m. on BBC One.